Welcome to Let's Make a Horror Movie. This is the podcast where one of us pitches a horror movie idea, concept, if you will, first draft, if you want to be generous, to the other one. And
a pure sketch.
A sketch, exactly, exactly. Like a rough sketch, done with kind of mud. What you've run out of charcoals. You're on location. What you're using nature. So we pitch a horror movie idea each week to the other one. The other one feeds back, adds to it, or suggests things.
Yep.
And if we're lucky, the audience out there will go, "Hey, I've got an idea that would make that shit idea better." And it's this, and you can tweet us at LeManPod, which, as we all know by now, is an acronym for Let's Make a Horror Movie
It's
podcast.
boring, mate. You reading it out again and again.
LMAHM pod. And then an at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, I think, just fair warning, it's come to my attention that, oh, by the way, I'm Dave.
I'm John.
That is John.
Yep.
And it's come to my attention, John, that I think every episode we find a way of offending everyone that listens.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So,
I mean, that's the rated detriment.
Well, I was going to say not intentionally.
Oh, sorry.
Like, I'm not setting out to offend anybody. It just so happens that
I've made a terrible mistake.
Such a sort of morbidly morose kind of...
You can't see a whole notebook being thrown away.
So anyway, look, so just if you're a kind-hearted and gentle, then beware, because we're a couple of dicks that are just basically going to offend you. I
think we're just mischievous scamps.
Alright, yeah, I like that better. Brackets dicks.
Yeah.
Brackets.
Flicking our noses at those in charge.
It's in brackets. So the way that this podcast works is that it's in 3 acts. What a giggle. The first act is we're so knowingly funny. John, that's the thing, knowingly funny. First act is we do feedback that we might have received on our pitch last week.
Which was one of mine.
Which was one of yours, and we'll get onto that in 2 ticks. The second act of the podcast is cultural highlights of the week, mostly related to horror. If you ignore episode 2's Act 2, which had nothing to do with horror.
Run around the houses.
Yeah. Hey, look, I found it interesting. That's all I'm going to say.
Some people did.
Some people didn't.
Yeah.
Some people said, stick to the source material, which is supposed to be horror. But, stuff happens in life. And so the third act is the actual movie pitch itself. And what I'll do is when we put the episode up, as you may or may not have already seen, is I'll actually tell you how long the acts last and where they start and finish, so you can skip all of this verbal diarrhea if you should wish, but you'll miss out on the hilarious in-jokes.
All the gold will be gone.
John's wit
it's razor sharp.
Oh, it's... God.
My hands are covered in plasters.
I'm bleeding already. Anyway, that's us. Welcome.
Hello.
But without further ado then, I guess Act 1, John.
That was it. Act 0 is finished.
So I got a few things to catch up on then, feedback wise. But first of all, I wanted to say last week your pitch Triceratops. Loved it.
Oh, thank you very much.
In hindsight, because by the end, I'm not going to deny, I was flagging. Nothing to do with your pitch, but just to do with my complete mess of a life.
There was a few audible clues to those who knows Dave very well.
Which is fewer and fewer people. But I called it without thinking, because I that was a bit of a rushed edit, and I called it the Triceratops.
I did see that and I was furious.
Well, I wanted to check,
we didn't speak for about a week.
You burned an effigy of me. Yeah.
Oh, the things I said.
Yeah, okay. Does it matter? Were you fussed?
Not really. I mean, I do think Triceratops is the name.
Better title, yeah.
I mean, it is the title.
It's not just title.
No. Sick burn. I mean, in my head it was Triceratops because it was a bit more like, ooh,
no, you're right. It is better. And then, because when I was thinking of, do you know what really pissed me off was I was thinking of, potential names for the one I'm going to pitch in today's episode. And
classic narcissism.
The very fact that we even have a podcast is just a huge narcissist flag right there. Just, hey guys, look at me, look at me.
We're so good.
Oh, I'm so clever and smart.
Bask in our glory.
But I realised that all the good names that I came up with for this one, or potential names, all began with the, and I was like, well, we can't do 2 fucking those in a row, and I've hamstrung us by calling yours the when I didn't need to.
Do you know what? I had the idea. I'm not going to call it the because I've had too many the. I genuinely was not.
But when anyone asks me, I'll be like, yeah, I know. He's so contrived. Yeah. He's so contrived.
Boring, mate.
Everything's a the. Everything's got this.
That's all he ever says.
Another thing is, you've been at Bloodstock.
I have been at Bloodstock.
Last week? This week?
Last weekend.
Last weekend. That's meaningless. I'm here right now and I don't even know.
It was 5 days ago from where we're sat.
There we go.
Give you some idea of time, everybody.
Do you know what? This actually...
You know what? You could retroactively, for you sort of like armchair detectives out there, work out when today is. Because it finished last Sunday.
What fun. Don't ever say we're not a fun podcast. Yeah. Look, you're setting your homework.
It's like true crime. It's like, oh, what the clues.
Okay, look. I've taken us way off topic. Really, I should have been asking about Bloodstock in the second act.
Yeah.
Fucking gone mad.
That's insane.
So here you go, right? So I've got some feedback on the Triceratops.
I don't know what that was, mate. Was that one of yours?
Dear John, don't be misusing John with an H. That's a name in its own right. If you want a grown-up name, use the one you were given in full. Perhaps add a Y.
Wow.
Perhaps add a Y if it's not pretentious enough.
Who's
wait, Jonathan, but the THYN he's put. Which I actually think you should start doing.
So who's this arsehole who's come out swinging?
This is friend of the show, J-Dubs.
Ah, yes. Hello, J-Dubs.
Yeah. So he also takes issue with do you know what he's arguing back about the Knuckle Abbey episode.
Come on, mate, it was ages ago.
He said, I'm not going into a warm, dry area lit by firelight for all the sheep on Orkney, given the adjacent presence of a fucking great 10-foot water demon. Well, look. The choices were few. He had few choices.
I would say, if you apply that logic to screenwriting as a whole, you wouldn't have any movies. There needs to be one sort of like, that's a weird choice to make.
You gotta, yeah. Have we mentioned before, the only film I can ever think of it's always in the back of my mind is one I call out, which never falls into that trap, is Dog Soldiers.
Yes.
Because, and perhaps I should have rewatched it before announcing this on a podcast.
It's about werewolves.
But, I meant more
just helping you.
As far as I can recall, I've watched the movie many times, they never do anything that I wouldn't necessarily have done. Broadly speaking.
Yeah, apart from join the army.
So there you go, J-Dubs. Devs, what other choices have you got? You're going to just die on that island. Chances are, if you don't go in that firelight at that point, the Knuckle Abbey will just find you later.
Take him, Dave, take him.
Yeah. Hey. He also says, Tiptoe's got a good breakdown in your mum's house. Which he doesn't say, but I'm assuming... I'm assuming it's a podcast.
Wow, what a sentence.
Yeah, I'm assuming that is a podcast that I just haven't heard of. He says apparently it was supposed to be a different film and it got destroyed in the edit.
I heard that. I've heard that.
Shit,
Peter Dinklage said it was beautiful in the original edit.
But is he just being nice? Because he's an actor, Gary Oldman's an actor.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're not gonna turn up at a job and be like, dude, the fuck are you doing?
I've heard the film being described as an actual hate crime.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can see why Dinklage wants to distance himself from the final product.
Yeah.
By going, oh no, when we made it, it was fucking amazing. Because if he said, oh yeah, no, it was horrendously offensive and I shouldn't have done that, and it calls him into question.
I suppose
He's protecting himself.
Yeah. Well,
you can't trust a word out of his mouth.
The Little Women trailer's out, and I half expected to see...
What a segue.
I was going to say, I half expected to see Gary Oldman in it. On his knees.
We don't say Little Women anymore.
That's I don't know if that can stay. Right, so anyway, he says, not sure if there's any defense or discussion of Oldman. I found it almost amusing he went straight on to the Harry Potter films. I presume J.K. Rowling was a fan of his knee work.
I think you must have been, because his knee's still a lot of scenes in Azkaban.
So here we go. So classic J-Dubs with his... Normally goes for a name and a place in his suggestions.
Noun location system.
He's gone, so he's calling Triceratops, alternative titles, Roy Munson versus the 300. Sarah Connor invades Russia. Soviet Spartans.
Soviet Spartans, I do like. Spartans That's very good.
Very much more B-movie than Triceratops.
Yeah, I do like that though.
Honey, I Lost a Kid and he was warped into a monstrous murdering nihilist by fat pseudo-Greeks.
I like how J-Dubs isn't troubled by subtlety. It's quite freeing.
Psychos in Serbia.
That's good.
Up there with Soviet Spartans.
But I mean, according to the Serbian film, that's just Serbia. I mean, I've never seen that film, but apparently it's quite horrendous. Full of psychos.
I mean, to be honest, he goes into a lot of detail that we probably don't have time to read out, but,
Thanks for your correspondence, Jacob.
No, well, let me see, what else does he say? So he says, hey, nicknames for your character.
I'm just gonna exit myself from this bit.
Munson, Kingpin, Clamps, Jimmy Nahans, the Claw, oh, he did have one hand, actually, Jimmy Nahand.
Yeah.
The Claw, Uno, Hook, Inspector Gadget, Shitty Skywalker, or Jimmy Najuggles. Which is possibly the best one.
Jimmy Najuggles is very good. He should be very happy with that.
He said he would like to see some reasoning for the targeted kidnapping, which
That's a fair point. I mean, when I came up with it, I was going for very much a sort of.
He does say, otherwise, why not kidnap kids closer to home, presumably
that makes
Russia?
sense.
Yeah.
I was assuming that they were going for like a kind of healthy stock. So, like, you know, they're going for sort of like kids in Western Europe who can maybe be of healthier stock.
They're healthier than Russians. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. A spindly bunch.
Headline stuff.
Well, I mean, they aren't known for their like food mountains. Do you know what I mean?
What, the Russians?
Yeah, they aren't like abundant. You do see Russian banquets, but like, they're not.
You don't want to eat them.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Fair enough. I mean, look, if you want to be bigoted against Russia, then that's fine.
And I do. Just because be clear, I'm a little bit Russian, so I'm allowed to say this.
He's really thought this through, actually. Look, so he says, otherwise, why not kidnap kids closer to home? Given the slight future setting and given existing technology, I think you could argue for gene-based targeting.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, using DNA samples gathered by the increasingly controlling governments, the heralds can analyze the data using their privileged positions within the states,
I like that.
select those destined to be the strongest, the most athletic, and the most disposed to cruelty.
I think that's the stuff you could definitely put in Act 3. When they get to the stronghold, you could have some indication that there is some selective sort of, because I mean, it's definitely a cult who would favour eugenics.
Yeah.
I think that's clearly part of their oeuvre.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. I was going for kind of a bit of a, not quite grindhousey, but like, you know what I mean, like a bit of a B-movie style.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Did we mention, I think you name-checked Mandy at one point.
Yeah, like hobo with a shotgun.
Slightly hyper-realistic.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be too grounded, but I think that idea would fold very nicely into it. I think that'd work really well.
Well, so we got feedback from Frank.
Oh, hello, Frank.
Hello, Frank. He says, when Mum, Dad, Daughter, and Mackenzie Crook infiltrate the Russian base, you could have the dad find himself in a room with loads of fucked up prosthetic limb-style weapons, one of which he attaches to his severed wrist.
I like that.
Maybe the Sparta guys have been surgically attaching them to the kids they've been kidnapping in the same way that the son has now integrated the Triceratops helmet thing.
I like that. It's a very good idea.
Makes sense. Why not? We've opened the door for it. May as well double down.
Also, to be fair, I like the idea of the dad going into there and not really expecting to come out of it. So he would probably mutilate himself thinking, just fucking get this sorted.
Yeah.
Because I think his life's not been great. Obviously, he can't juggle. So
there is that.
So that's really ruined his prospects.
There is that. I mean, as soon as that happens to me, I'm gone. I'm checking out.
I mean, I know you and juggling. It's all you ever do, mate.
Yep.
One of the classic bits.
Goals. Well, I'm going to put that in one of the. I'm going to make an ad for our podcast, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
That'll be it.
Come for the back and forth.
Stay for the juggling banter. So he says the son kills the mum and the daughter. So this is him suggesting. So the son kills the mum and the daughter. The dad sees Dad sees this happen. Yeah. Realizes his son is beyond saving and goes full psycho. Yeah. Attaches the weapons to his wrist. Starts smashing faces in and kills everything in sight. Mm-hmm. Lots of blood, obviously. Mackenzie Crook survives, but loses both his legs in the carnage and has to use knee shoes for the rest of his life. It's fucking brilliant. I hadn't read that.
I like that. I think in my mind, it was very important for the women to survive because that cult is very anti-women. You know, hence the sort of like connotations to today. Yeah. So I like the idea of them being bested by a bunch of women. But I do like the idea of Mackenzie Crook being mutated from the knees down.
And then presumably
I've always said that.
Having to get a pair of knee shoes. Yeah. Which you should really be checking out Wallace, Gary Oldman's agent. Gary Oldman's
of course.
fictional agent from last episode. It does say, and this is possibly my favourite thing he says, because it's such a burn. Not sure about the dad working in a factory though. If it's 20 years in the future, it'll probably be robots. Fuck you, John. That's.
Oh, I've blown it all apart. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
So,
I don't know what I'm doing. I think
that's true of us all.
I'd envisioned that energy crisis would be to the point where, and there'd be so many people, that labour would be cheaper for places like warehouses. And I was thinking kind of like how like Amazon works. Yeah, they could get automated forklifts and shit, but you've got a fuck bunch of people who want to work for nothing.
Yeah, I think that's a fair. Yeah, I think that's a fair. You could go either way with it. I think that's a fair rationale that you could definitely.
To go a bit serious, I think one of the things we're going to see over the next few years is technology is going to be taken out of the hands of everybody. It's going to become more of a sort of a rich person's thing.
So, last bit of feedback for well, actually, this isn't for Triceratops. So, Alex has written in, if J-Dubs' feedback is going to be places and things, then hers is going to be songs. So she had sympathy for the devil, was her feedback for suggestion for...
On the nose, but I liked it.
Episode 3, The Devil and Satan. Episode 4, Eyes Without a Face. For, what would we call it? Long Way from God.
Long Way from God, yes.
Long Way for God now, son. She then, for last week's, is calling it Eve of Destruction.
Ah, I like that a lot.
So she's going with the song theme.
Yeah, because I did envision it as a kind of like kind of quite a heavy soundtrack. Maybe not Slayer because it's a bit on the nose, but that kind of, you know what I mean, like a bit of thrash.
Yeah.
Not going quite to black metal, but yeah, a little bit of speed, a little bit of hate in there.
Cool. Well, look, that is the end of the first act.
Yep.
Act 2 then is cultural highlights from the week.
Ooh.
John, as we know, you've been to Bloodstock.
Been to Bloodstock. Eventually I made it.
Oh yeah, you had an accident. I posted that on Instagram.
Yes, famously had car trouble. Oh, I mean, car trouble's a very small way of describing my car fucking itself to death. The engine just... basically, guys, if your car starts ticking, get it looked at. That's basically
I really was expecting a rhyme. If your car starts ticking... Don't stop clicking. I don't know.
It's going to start.
That burden's on you, John. You don't start a phrase that sounds like it's going to rhyme and then not rhyme it. That's
your car
classic marketing error. Oh, you've overpromised and underdelivered there.
Your car starts ticking. Better getting it looked at.
Better start choking the chicken.
Better start choking the chicken. Yeah, because I mean, obviously, what else are you going to do? Cheers me up.
Is that euphemism? That is a euphemism.
Yeah.
I've accidentally stumbled into euphemism.
For ownerism. Chucking that word out there. Happy with that.
What did we do in Act 2? Cultural highlights. Yeah, Bloodstock. So that went well.
Yeah, so missed Rotting Christ after all the build-up.
That is 2 episodes of build-up.
I know. That's a real opposite of a Chekhov's gun. Actually, because it's all build up with no release. So missed that. But I did see Sabaton, and they were all right.
Sabaton?
Yes, they are a Swedish band who sing about war and nothing else. But they do have tanks on stage. So if you like that sort of thing and you're about 14, it's the band for you, mate. And I know you love that stuff. They got a song about samurai, which made me go off them. Because it's a boring topic and it's a boring song. So I left. Saw some good black metal bands of names that I will probably post up at some point. Also saw Cradle of Filth, one of the greatest bands of their type.
And one that you announced on Instagram was the official band of one half of Let's Make a Horror Movie.
I stand by that. They are fantastic.
Hey, I'm not going to argue.
They had fire and everything.
I saw the photos.
Yeah.
It looked warm. It looked warm and toasty.
It was toasty. It genuinely was.
Which was good, because I imagine the weather wasn't
Mate, I mean, there's some bands I've been to where I've just been, this is just far too cold, and walked away. I mean, disappointing.
Cool. Well, so I haven't watched any horror this week, or this last 2 weeks, because life found a way to stop me at every turn.
Yep.
But hey, these are the things that happen. So what have I done? I've stumbled like a drunk person onto Twitter.
Yep.
And just sort of clunkily... Me on Twitter, me trying to use social media is a bit like a really fucked up guy trying to approach a group of strangers in a fairly nice pub at about 7 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
So like way too early to be as fucked up as I am. You know, I'm slurring, I'm all over this. I'm just sort of leaning in and grinning broadly and hoping that'll, and it's a total fail every time.
I had that. That happened to me once in Leicester. Irish guy came up to us about 6:30 and talked for about 2 hours about the IRA. True story.
Was he Northern? Irish like that? Or...
No, he wasn't. No.
Hello there. Have you heard about the IRA? And can I buy you a drink?
Do you know what's the worst thing is? This happened quite a long time ago. I can genuinely not remember if he was pro or against. But he did talk a long time about it.
Maybe he was just a historian.
Yeah, he talked about how it started, the whole Easter Rebellion, and all the various different takes on the subject.
Well, maybe he'll come back to the fore.
Yeah, if you're out there, mate, write in about the IRA.
Hey, if that was you and you remember John's voice, call in.
Hello.
Call us on 001 11010. We have a binary phone number here. What have I done then? So you know what? I've been listening to podcasts, which I don't normally do because time.
Yeah.
I only listen to a couple, but
we are making the best one, so why listen to anything else?
Just waving that narcissist flag up there. There are other podcasts out there that also are in the sort of horror genre area.
Yeah.
So like
Hungry Birds. Waiting to be vomited in.
Yeah, exactly. I just want someone to retch in my mouth.
Please do.
But about horror.
Yeah. Mate, I think if you did that, it's already horror.
Yeah. Amazingly, you can't pay people to do that. So...
Political correctness gone mad.
Well, look, hey, I just haven't found any takers. So, the Arrow Video podcast
is the one. I've heard good things.
Is the one, presented by Sam Ashurst and Dan Martin, who are all kinds of horror cool aficionados and work in the business. And Sam Ashurst actually worked on Borderlands. Do you remember that movie?
I do.
That movie, or The Borderlands, 2013. For anyone that hasn't seen that.
Yeah.
A little lovely bit of homegrown horror there.
Yeah, it's great.
With a fucking awesome ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't wiki it.
Yeah.
Before I know some people wiki movies, horror movies, to sort of take the sting out. Don't do that.
I used to watch movies at 1.5 speeds just to get through them quicker.
You did?
No, for a friend of mine.
Fucking hell!
That's mad, innit?
Well, with the sound as well.
Yeah. Yeah, he watched Assassination of Jesse James, quite a kind of slow, meditative sort of movie. Watched it at time and a half just to get it in. Also quite like Babe Station.
I want to go off on a huge rant about that. I really want to go off on a huge rant about it. We don't have the time.
You don't.
Because one of the bits of feedback that we had is try and keep the episodes down.
Keep it short,
But
guys.
This is a Dave episode, so get ready for about an hour and 20.
Get comfy.
Get fucking comfy if you haven't already, because God knows how long we're in now.
Say goodbye to the kids for a while.
Wave off the kids. Close the door.
Close
the blinds.
Yeah.
Just... fuck it. Anyway, sorry. I'll tidy this up in the...
What a trail off. And, give up. Listen, let us be the last thing you hear.
So anyway, Borderlands, if you haven't seen it, is absolutely cracking. The reason I mentioned that is the Arrow Video podcast is really cool.
Yeah.
I think you would really like it, especially, and they have a really good episode all about Fright Fest, which is coming up. I also listened to I Spit on Your podcast, which is a couple of horror ladies who are also really fun to listen to. A really cool podcast about horror, and that's about as far as I got because I enjoyed those two so much. That was about it.
You've only got 2 ears, mate.
That you can see. I've got like a scanner's type ear just above my bum on my back. So if you.
Nothing on that. Nothing to add to that.
There's loads of misfires in this run so far. There's loads of stuff that's just been thrown up and then fucking air swings.
Bum ears.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Bum ears.
Quite a conversational cul-de-sac right down there.
Yeah, I think we won't be dwelling on bum ears for long. But so Fright Fest is coming up. Yeah. Listen to Arrow podcast. Have you got anything you want to say about Fright Fest other than the fact that you're going to be there and I'm not, which is sick.
I don't dwell on it too much. But very, very excited. Some cracking films this year. A little bit annoyed I'm not going to be seeing Rabid by the Soska sisters. Apparently looks fantastic.
It feels like more of a failing on your part than theirs.
It's a failing on my part by having a wife and kids who just demand me around.
Look, we've covered off, in previous episodes, various solutions to that.
And a few off mic, which I find unpleasant. That was an awkward chat.
I mean, look, people don't normally notice missing persons for a few days. The police won't even take notice until after 24 hours. So, and all you need is Monday, that's all I'm saying.
I've got an alibi. I was at Fright Fest, mate.
Yeah, exactly. I was in a dark cinema. Everyone can say I was there.
Also,
Probably.
I don't look the type, and I think that plays well into my favour. I've got a round,
you don't look
friendly
like a murderer.
face. I don't look like I haven't got mad hair.
Yeah, whereas I very much do. I am just for the listeners who don't know us. If you were trying to build a mental picture, John, like a bit of a Guillermo del Toro. Not.
I've often thought I look like a snowman made out of ham. That's been the look I've cultivated for a long time now, and I think it worked.
I was going to do a bit about stuff I love. I've prepared a little bit about that here.
You have a heart brimming with love, mate.
The thing is, it's like, if you see something that you think is really amazing and great, isn't it nice to just call it out? Well,
see something, say something.
So, Things I Love segment this week. This week, I really love people who make mobile phone calls with the recipient on loudspeaker whilst holding the phone about a yard in front of them, and then acting like only they can hear it. I fucking love those
It's
cunts.
great, that. No, I'm one of the things that I love. I love when I see Mark Wahlberg is going to be in a movie. I think, mate, I'm in there. I'm in. I love a man who can play a very broad Bostonian character regardless of what movie it is. And to an almost cartoonish degree, but it undercuts all the drama and tension. And yet somehow it still keeps popping up. No, I can't think of a film he's not improved. Oh, no, I can. All of them. That's it. Yeah, that's what he's done.
I mean, look, I like to hate on Marky Mark as much as the next guy, but Boogie Nights. But every rule has an exception.
I'm about to say that very thing. It's exception that proves the rule. The only film where he's not the worst thing in it is The Happening, because it's a real fight in that movie for what's going to take
to the bottom.
Yeah, it's like it's like someone's picked up a lot of dog shits and put them into a bag for you, and you're like, oh my god, which one's the worst one? You can't tell.
Well, look, I love it. We're trying this out, folks. Just a couple of things that we love every week.
Yeah.
You'll get a sense about my love for people on mobile phones, because I think that'll probably end up being a recurring thing.
Yeah.
Because there's so many instances of how people use them that I really fucking love.
Oh, mate.
Really fucking, I can't get enough of it.
I don't think you appreciate how lucky you are to love it, because I think if you didn't love it, your journeys to work would be very difficult.
I know. I worry about that sometimes, because I think if I didn't love it, would I be sitting here fantasizing about someone smashing that person's head in with a hammer?
Yeah, and that would be, no one wants that.
And the answer is no, of course I wouldn't, because that would be just wrong.
That would be wrong.
That would be wrong. And I'm a nice guy.
You are a nice guy.
I might...
you've got an awful lot of hammers.
But I've got an awful lot of bloody hammers with bits of hair on them.
Yeah, and a lot of phones. This is strange. But as I said...
And they all ring at different times sporadically. Saying things like wife or...
increasingly sad texts.
Oh god, okay, where is the line at which this becomes terribly inappropriate? Look, on that bombshell, do we have anything else? Because I've got this movie pitch here and ready to dive into.
I don't think so. I think the main cultural thing, really, building up towards it. One thing I did find out about it on Twitter...
Building up to it in what way? What exactly are you doing to build up to it?
Well,
You're writing a poem every day
feeling
about it.
Chapter 2 needs a little bit of a bump.
Because no one's really heard about it. The thing is, it's one of those, it's almost like it's hidden on social media.
It's going to be a real indie darling.
You really got to look for it, yeah.
But one thing is, alright, so I've got quite a lot of stupid cups I bought at cinemas from films I've not liked. Like, I've got 2 cups from the Solo movie. A little cartoon Lando on top of it, and it's a big cup. As I say, I'm married. You give.
I can't wait to hear where this is going.
No, it's going to a good. It's going to a good place. They're making commemorative cups for the It movie. So you're right to look so excited. You can get a little cup, a big old cup for your cinema trip with a balloon on it.
And the best part about that is it will gather dust for another 10 years on your shelf.
I won't drink out of anything else. I will literally die of
But if you're going to
thirst.
continue to use it, that's different.
Oh, I'd use that cup any day of the week, mate.
Excuse me, everybody. Just having a bit of a coughing fit.
There are 3 cups available, I'm led to believe. One of them's got Pennywise, one's got a balloon, and I think one's got a hand, maybe, or something else. I can't remember. They're on Twitter. They look very cool.
Are you, hold on. Just for anyone listening at home, I'm opening the window because I'm also smoking in this cabin, and it's getting a little bit smoky because there's no ventilation. So
Well, we're going to go and see it together with possibly my wife.
We, as in you and I.
Yes, you and I.
With your tag along.
I mean, she'll be driving us and hopefully keeping quiet. That's not true. That's you can't keep her quiet. No, because I'm thinking there's 3 cups available. 3 people, I get all the cups.
That's true.
That's what I mean. If it goes any way but that, I'd be furious.
That's the only way I can imagine that you would be able to feasibly get 3 cups. Because there's no way you could just exchange money for those goods. No, mate, there's no way I could.
There'd be no way I could do it in front of my wife, who already knows my habits and says, "You've got to draw a line somewhere, John. True. It's getting fucking."
Well, there's
mental.
only 3.
Yeah,
there's the line.
Yeah,
there's the line. You can try. You can get more.
They do it for me.
You could buy 6. You could buy 2 of each.
Just in case.
I tell you what, there you go. I've solved this, right? Yeah. So you go in at, hey, my wife. I'm not gonna name her because we're anonymous.
Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah, that's kind of like.
Yeah.
It's her preferred nom de plume.
Okay. So, hey, Jeff. Have you seen those It cups? Yeah. I reckon I'm gonna get 6.
The ones I've been talking about for quite a while.
Yeah. I'm gonna get 6, and then he is gonna say, no, you're not. 6. Yeah. You don't need 6.
You've already got Lando.
This will go back.
Droids. You know
this will go back and forth for a while, and then eventually she'll get so exasperated she'll go, just get the fucking 3, and let's get in the movie theater. Boom.
That's been the tactic for our entire married life to this point, and it has worked a treat.
Are you gonna take the kids?
No, but the kids are. My daughter especially is desperate to see it. Because I've been an appalling father.
7-year-old daughter.
Yes, and she knows too much about it. Actually, my birthday card this year, she very kindly put she did it all in black, because my favourite colour is black, as any other colour is horrible. And she did...
all other colours are just a part of black. Think of it that way, John.
Yeah.
Black is just... You mix colours together, eventually you'll get black.
Fuck off, Candy. And she, for my birthday card, put a little... She doesn't know who it is. She did a little kind of yellow-coated boy holding a red balloon. Nice. Which I thought was very adorable of her.
Yeah,
and that was very nice. And she did quite a lot of it and was just going, look, it's an It card. And I thought it was very kind of her.
That's very sweet. And I hope you're putting money aside for her future therapy.
Yes. I mean, you've got... I really am thinking about that now. She also put a lot of 666s on the card as well. Because
see, here you are all this time going, isn't that nice? She's doing that for me. Yeah. Whereas as far as you know, she might actually just be going nuts.
It's a slow breakdown, yeah.
Yeah, and you just think, oh, it's all just for my benefit. Yeah. When actually she's just lost the plot.
I never thought about that. Thanks, mate. Maybe my daughter's damaged.
Hey, look, I'd never say that.
just heavily insinuate.
I just heavily imply. That's all I ever do. Alright, I think that's us out of Act 2.
I think that's all of culture covered.
Yeah. So I'm going to caveat. So, welcome to Act 3.
Yeah.
Act 3 is...
The real payoff.
This is the meat. This is the meat and potatoes of...
You've had your starters. You've had your, like, I don't know, your palate cleanser.
Sadly, we didn't have anything quite as hilarious as Tiptoes this week.
There's nothing that hilarious
lost my
in the
shit
world
like that in a while.
Yeah, Gary Oldman, if you're out there, make another inappropriate movie, please.
yeah. Gary Oldman, if you're listening, I'd love to have a word with your agent.
Yeah.
I've just got loads of questions. Like, I'm not one
Let's
word.
sow some seeds. Gary Oldman, you'd make a really good Maui. See what he can do.
Maori?
Yeah. See what he can do with himself. Let's see how far we can push him. Gary Oldman and Helen Keller, possibly.
That could be the role that defines his career. That really could be.
It could be the role that ends cinema.
Quick caveat then to this is, I worried slightly that in a lot of ways there's a lot of similarities to your pitch last week.
Okay.
I've intentionally, I didn't intentionally try and avoid it. When I was writing it, I didn't feel it was the same at all.
Yep.
And then once it was written, I was like, well, maybe it's got similarities. Yeah. But hey, you're just gonna have to lump it.
So here comes Brontosaurus.
Nice one, yeah. So anyway, working title, Diplodocus. Where's my lighter? Here we go. Right, so I'm just gonna crack in and, well, you know the drill by now. Yep. Interrupt whatever you fucking like. But bear in mind, the only singular piece of feedback that everyone has given is, yeah, maybe try and keep it a bit shorter. And I have stressed that brevity is not really my strong suit.
I mean, brevity is not the soul of anything, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know. Anyway, here we go. Working title isn't one.
Slick start, mate.
Oh, this is dog shit. This is so bad. Yeah, I've got no way. I've got no good way to go into it. Alright, here we go. Scene opens on a UK commuter train. Platform.
Yeah.
Somewhere semi-urban. Probably just outside London.
Cool. Luton, maybe.
Yeah, you could take Luton.
Yeah.
I mean, there's many places. But for those that aren't familiar, somewhere just outside London.
Croydon.
But within the commuter belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a wide shot.
Yep.
We see a train pull in and what initially looks to be like the normal hustle and bustle of morning commuter behaviour. But as we see the flow of people pushing onto the train begin to thin out, we notice armed guards at each of the sets of doors to each of the carriages and another handful patrolling up and down the platform that we presumably didn't instantly see because of the crowds. Cut to inside the train as it's moving off. Ostensibly everything is normal. Guards having remained at the station, didn't get on the train, so on, so on. As the camera gives us a couple of contextual shots of the inside of the carriage. And though there are hints of things amiss.
Yeah.
So like the train actually, it looks a bit worn, a bit old. We settle on a slightly frazzled looking young man reading a book, sitting by the window in a set of 2 seats. The train slows to another stop and the same scene plays itself out, this time viewed from inside the car. The final person to board at this station is some boorish bloke in a shirt talking loudly on his phone. We follow him down the aisle as he sits heavily next to our book reader. As the train pulls away, we see the reader give the phone man a series of stares, clearly indicating his displeasure at being forced to listen to this man's witterings, which at this point form pretty much the entire soundscape. So having slowly grown in volume with his continued presence until it's uncomfortable. So it's that kind of, you know what I mean, that kind of slow, without us really knowing, all of the ambient sounds died off and we're just getting this fucking twat.
We've got a man who's not got your like Zen approach to that kind of thing.
I can't relate to the story in any way.
I mean, it is
nothing to do with my life.
Yeah.
I can't relate to it at all. I've just used my imagination. That's all I've done. I've gone on a journey into my own mind. Briefly looking down at his book again, the reader deftly snatches the phone from the phone man's hand and slots it straight out of the window of the moving train. Wow. In a flash, the phone man's hand is around the reader's neck and he slams him back into the window. There's a few moments of struggle as the reader's face starts turning red with the effort of the struggle and the strangulation.
Yep.
He starts pushing his left hand against the phone guy's face in what looks like an attempt to push him off, but then out of nowhere his right hand comes flying up and stabs a huge hunting knife down into the guy's exposed neck.
Wow.
It fucking does it. I've lost cue blood and sudden commotion from the carriage in the background. We're still in quite a tight shot of the fighters, if you will. And so it's unclear, but we know there's commotion going on around it off the back of this. The reader pushes the gushing, gesticulating, soon-to-be corpse off him with a heave, and covered in blood now, stands full height and shouts, "Anybody else want?" before his head is dashed all over the window behind him by a bullet from elsewhere in the carriage.
Wow.
We switch out to a wider shot of the carriage, still from inside, and in a relative moment of quiet, just for a second, we see the shooter. Down the carriage is a man in a nice suit with an expression that's conveying something of disquiet at odds with his outfit, surrounded by other normal commuters. A blade from behind lodges in the shooter's neck, and we see him begin to go down in a streaming, grasping mess before we quickly cut to other random panic-driven scenes of erupting violence throughout the coach. Everyone is armed in some way, and the initial violence has tipped them all into full-on survival mode.
Jesus.
Cut to 2 well-dressed men sitting adjacent to one another in another carriage, both looking ahead at something. It's a moment of clarity from the frenzy of a few seconds ago, both from a visual and an audio perspective.
Yeah.
We cut to behind the 2 men so that we can see what they're seeing. They're sat in the last 2 seats of the next carriage from the one with all the fighting going on.
Yeah.
The doors between the 2 carriages are half glass, so we're all watching the violence together before one of the men says, "Clarence?" No, let me try that again. "Clarence?"
One more go at that?
Clarence. I don't know. Or I've written almost rhetorically.
Can we try take two again?
Yeah. Just really a bit more soft.
Yeah.
Clarence. The man on the aisle stands up, presumably Clarence.
Of course.
Reaching up out of shot to what we assume is the overhead baggage.
Mm-hmm.
As he's doing this, we're still on the same shot. We see a few people trying to escape the carnage next door. So we're looking past Clarence's, midsection through the windows.
Yeah.
And we see people coming towards the doors because you can get through. There's two double doors.
Yeah.
And you can get through from one carriage to the other. They're in bad shape. They're in need of assistance. And we see past them. We can see all this carnage still going on, right? So as the escapees from next door open the first of the two doors to get through to this carriage, Clarence, we assume, his hand comes down from out of shot with a chunky automatic shotgun or similar.
Yeah.
And he immediately aims at the oncomers through the door. The final shot of this opening scene is the look of realization on the faces of those trying to get out as Clarence opens up with the shotgun.
Nice.
And that's the opening scene.
That's a lot going on there.
Busy.
So it's a busy scene.
It's a busy scene, but it's a lot shorter than my last one.
Yeah.
My last
I like
one,
it a lot.
As I say, really reaching into the depths of my imagination for this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is must have been how Tolkien, when Tolkien's wife heard him.
Yeah.
Like, where have you getting this shit from?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like I've created Elvish out of nothing, isn't it? So I had this idea, because as you'll see, I need to set some context here.
Of course.
So that's a cold open, and I think in the credits scene, my idea, and we can discuss this at the end perhaps, but my idea was in the credits, maybe you do that kind of thing where you get, and I don't know if you call it a montage, but you get a kind of, newspapers, front pages, and maybe some shots of TV news reports and stuff like that gives you the context to where we're at. And that context, we're seeing society kind of reduced to populism. Yeah. We're seeing food riots. We're seeing these kinds of things. And that's the credit sequence.
Used to great effect in the Dawn of the Dead remake. Did that kind of real quick cuts.
Yeah, I forgot
using
about that.
Real footage
Good
with
shout.
a bit of accent. Yeah.
So, a farmer, Ben, is seeing increasing incidents when he's in town selling his produce.
Yeah.
He sees fighting and arbitrary police intervention based on people like flashing symbols. So it's not the police as we understand it. It's more of almost a private police force who are making arbitrary choices there. And Ben, the farmer, this is in the first act, he gets visits from his local police, which is what we see is this amounts to basically protection money for food. Or in food rather, and the police also dictate much of where this produce goes. Cool. So we're getting a kind of idea that although he seemingly is a free enterprise, actually the circumstances are he's very much trapped within a new normal.
Yeah. And the police are like they're sort of like reduced to like the best armed mob.
Yeah, exactly. They're the ones with the resources and the power, so they take it. Anyway, when we do see Ben travelling, he's not in a motorised vehicle, and those that are like junky, rusty, home upgraded jobs. So though people have got standard tech like phones and so on, it seems the cost of new vehicles is too expensive in the existing economy.
No, like we touched upon in the
weirdly enough, So he sees a neighbour on the way home at one point and shouts a greeting but gets nothing in response. We meet a friendly neighbour later, and this frosty counter is commented upon, leading to some exposition around how people have changed and the police are increasingly becoming arbitrary warlords. As they have no government accountability anymore, or at least nothing that seems to work as far as we, the audience, know, right? Yeah. But the police are largely armed and provisioned. Everyone this is the exposition with his neighbour. Everyone he's seeing nowadays is white. He's not seeing any minorities anymore, even people he used to know, even very wealthy people, which gets a lot of emphasis in this conversation, and even gay people. Yeah. He's heard whispers of terrible things, but he's also heard of people fleeing and getting out of England. Huh? This is England, by the way. Okay. Borders have long been closed, though, and getting out has become as hard as getting in. There are some further scenes around the farm, and with the friendly neighbour, and some further exposition about the state of the world. Doesn't sound good, but then it sounds a little far-fetched as well. We also get a sense of the farm's isolation.
Yeah.
We get introduced to Ben's daughter, Maisie, who's, I don't know, probably about 20. We get some back and forth between them about how Maisie thinks things are really awful these days, perhaps coming across perhaps as misplaced youthful idealism.
Yep.
And Ben thinks things are largely okay. Maisie points to the fact that they run a farm and thus have a privileged position in spite of what little they do have. Ben's like, hey, at least we got food.
Yeah.
Which is sort of evading the point and also making it at the same time.
Yeah.
So Act 1 wraps up with a visit from a stranger on a howling wet night. We're isolated, remember, in the fucking nowhere countryside. Yep. Howling wet night. We've already had some concern about livestock. The dog is acting up. The whole scene is unsettling.
Yeah.
So it's remote, middle of the night, rain, shit's unsettling.
Yeah.
That's the scene. The stranger knocks at the door. They let the stranger in for some food and warmth for whatever reason.
Well, kind folk.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, because in a world where kindness is probably in short supply.
This is true. And I think what I didn't do is give a huge deal of thought about how or why. But, you know, look, you could make any number of reasons why that happens that are still entirely plausible.
You could maybe have like Maisie going, we can't be the same as everybody else. We've got to just like, this is the right thing to do. Ben's like, well, I mean, the food's got to, the food, we can't just give it away.
No, I like it.
Yeah.
That's bang on. I think that's perfect, is that it's a perfect clash of ideology almost. Yeah. And Ben capitulates to Maisie's compassion and they let him in. We get a scene then in a small firelit farmyard kitchen, low roof, long flickering shadows. Think of so I put a number of references here. I thought, think of Kidnapped. And I was like, don't know if that will really land. That's a Robert Louis Stevenson novel that not a lot of people might have read.
I'll say, I've not read it.
Yeah, it's fucking great. You should really read it. It's a real good yarn. Yeah. So if Kidnapped doesn't land, I went with the beginning of Treasure Island.
Yeah. Oh, do you know what I was thinking of the beginning of Treasure Island?
Right, good.
When,
if that doesn't land with listeners, the beginning of the film of Muppets Treasure Island will also set the scene. Or, and the last, if you haven't seen that, the last one is the cabin of the boat in Jaws where Flint is telling the story about the USS Indianapolis.
Yeah. And I would say, if you don't get any of these references, move the fuck on. If none of them landed, because that's a good list of references there. Yeah.
The stranger tells of waves of people fleeing the urban centres in search of food or in fear of their life from gangs, the police, randoms, everybody, basically whatever the society is. And we still don't fully know. We've had a fair amount of exposition. We haven't seen a lot ourselves because we're out in the middle of nowhere. So it's like, it feels like there's a change in the air. Yeah. So something is happening. Now, the reason that Ben and Maisie don't know about any of this, and neither do we, is because the internet, though being totally unregulated due to the lack of state intervention, it's also only available as a result to the wealthy, as they're the only ones who can afford to maintain their own infrastructure. Yeah. As there's no centralized state per se, or taxes, there's nobody maintaining any of this stuff. Yeah. And therefore television is now run by private providers and has become nothing but propaganda for the areas that have money to broadcast, making celebrities out of warlords. This is also largely the reason we're in a candlelit room, though we have seen a generator and some solar panels, so we can assume that not totally without power. Yes. Just sparing.
They are definitely the more fortunate in this current situation.
Right, exactly. In the end, the stranger reveals that his true intentions are basically to take the fucking farm. Like he's not come for friendly reasons or whatever reasons he gave to get in. Yeah. And he tells them that his boys or droogs or thugs, I don't know, I couldn't settle on a term, but something chilling sounding. It doesn't even have to be existing lingo. Yeah. We're near future here, so
make up any weird sounding sort of deep noun.
Lits.
Okay, yeah.
No, that's shit. I was looking at
What about him and his chairs?
The thing is that chairs has another meaning.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, look.
Unlike lit. Just one of those weird
sounds,
isn't it? It's a sound, mate.
Doesn't mean anything. Yeah. No meaning. Anyway. Right. So, thugs boys, whatever, they're coming up the road. The reason that we got onto that and not Litz or whatever. So his boys are coming up, the stranger tells them his boys are coming up the road this week, basically.
Okay.
Or in a few days. In a couple of days. Could be tomorrow, could be in a couple of days.
So you have put a kind of like ticking clock on the whole situation.
So whatever happens, they can't stay where they are.
Yeah.
Unless it's bullshit. So, but hear me out. He's like, they're coming up here in a few days. We're taking your farm. You may as well give it to me now and fuck off.
Yeah, do it without hassle.
Otherwise, you're just
it's a classic.
You're grist for the mill.
Easy way or the hard way kind of situation.
That. The farm of Ben and Maisie are basically forced to defend themselves through hook or crook and kill the intruder. Yeah. And I think Maisie plays a big role in this scene. Yeah. She's the one that's under threat from the odd ball more so than Ben.
Yes.
Is also the one to call out the stranger's duplicity first. And I quite like, in a weird way, her to strike a killing blow.
Yeah, I agree, because I think, because if she's a character who allows them in, you don't want her to just be a character who just makes mistakes.
Yeah, no, she owns it.
Yeah, because essentially you don't want her sense of compassion to be a weakness.
Yeah.
She made the right choice then, situations change, she makes the right choice again, just happens to be a more violent one.
Yeah.
I like that.
Nice. Well, Act 2 then starts with another visit from the local police warlord, and though he's threatening, when he's told the story of the intruder, he realizes the risk to his own power structure, and decides that he's going to come back and help.
That's quite cool. I like that already. It's a nice setup.
So he really takes notice at both the threat of these people coming up to take this farm, and also the news that the stranger relays that Ben and Maisie have now told the policeman about. To the point where Ben and Maisie start speculating that he knows more than he's letting on about what's really going on. Because again, propaganda on TV, what there is of it, no internet to speak of that they can use or access. So, there's no papers or anything.
I like the almost twist that the policemen, or police officers, acting like a police officer as we know them, but for completely different motivations
reasons,
as we know.
His motivation at this point is the fact that
someone else is on his turf.
Someone else is coming on his turf and risks completely upsetting the newer normal that is in place.
But it's making him act like a police officer.
Like a policeman, yeah.
That's cool.
So we get some scenes then in Act 2 around Ben and Maisie doubting the stranger's credibility and actually whether he wasn't just a nutter out for himself, and some further scenes with the remaining friendly neighbour who shoots down their skepticism and says he's heard the same things the stranger told them about people fleeing the cities and so on. And Maisie starts pushing for an immediate evac to Germany whilst they still have time to get their shit together. So, I thought, the scene with the stranger at the end of Act 1, in Act 2, it's a new day, sun's out,
Of course.
Like, it's that feeling of like, do you know what?
Maybe it wasn't that serious.
Now in the light of day, it seems a bit like not something to
worry
about.
They exist in a world which they're going to have seen more violence than we would have seen.
True.
So there's a slight normalisation.
Yeah.
To the idea of just being threatened seems less of a deal than it would do for us.
So, but then the neighbour, the one that is speaking to them, because again, I kind of imagined that police state and stuff, it's not necessarily a super nice environment in the sense that people will tell on each other. And, well, that's the wrong term,
Mate,
but you know what I mean.
If I've heard anything about a police state, it's not a super nice environment.
Yeah.
That's, I think, summed it up, mate.
I figured that would probably be the tagline for this movie. Not a super nice environment. So Maisie pushing to it for an evac to Germany, which I just thought would be a lot of fun. I thought it'd be funny that the state that everyone fled before is now the state that we all flee to.
No, I like that
because at this point, even now, really, right now, in reality, in spite of all the challenges, they still seem like a good voice of sense compared to the kind of screaming hysteria that we're suffering
they've got some kind of plans in place.
Yeah. Anyway, so Ben basically is pushing back on Maisie's idea about getting the fuck out of Dodge. Maisie's accusing Ben of being complicit in the crumbling regime because he's lazy, just wanted an easy life. So we get some conflict between father and daughter and the different feelings over culpability and so on. And, ultimately, probably feelings of impotence at actually being able to do anything. Having just shit got worse and worse around them without any,
I like that a lot because there's too often these days you hear like a connection between sort of like compassion and weakness. I like in this one, the most compassionate character is also the one with the most fight in them.
Yeah.
Because I think it's much more true. I think that's much more indicative of how life actually is.
Later on, we get some scenes with the friendly neighbour and a few friends of his who have come from the city. Okay. So they've fled and they've ended up at the neighbour's farm, basically. Yep. It's like a friend of the neighbour, a friend of theirs, and a respective friend of theirs. So by that, I mean they don't all know each other. It's almost like a little chain of... I'm getting out, and somebody's like, can I come with you? And then they're like, actually, can I bring my friend? You know, so they don't all know each other. But
they can all vouch for each other through some connections. So they're not just like random strangers, but they are strangers to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just like, oh, I know her, she can vouch for him, and then he can vouch for them, and so on and so forth.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. It's a mismatched group, but they've all banded together as they have a friend connection, but more because in some fashion or other they're under threat and looking to get out of Britain. Yep. So the neighbours tell Ben and Maisie, we're getting the fuck out. Do you want to come with us? We're going to go with these guys, basically. We've been thinking about it for a while. Ben's like, no thanks. Maisie's like, I'd love to. But doesn't, because she stays with her dad. So cue some more conflicts. Act 2 culminates in the police coming back with about 12 guys, you know, other police from around the, you know, the warlords area, if you like. Their entire regional unit, I wrote, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And they set up with a sort of siege mentality, ready to defend. Yeah.
Salt and Precinct 13 sort of thing.
Well, yeah, so they took the threat, literally, the stranger's threat. They're like, okay, we're going to come back and set up and protect our interests.
But they aren't like Home Alone in this shit. They're not
Home Alone in it.
They're just like, we're hunkering down.
Yeah. Well, you know, and so there's still we don't know. We don't know whether anyone's coming. We don't know what the fuck's going on. But they are obviously thinking, well, you know, what else are we doing? Yeah. We're just going around kind of rinsing protection cash out of people. We may as well go and spend a couple of nights around the farm, make sure that potential risk doesn't materialize.
Because also, if this farm gets taken, no one else is going to pay us for protection money if we can't protect.
Yeah, if we can't feed the fuckers.
Yeah.
So.
Of course.
Turns out, one of the 12 guys, or one of the 12 cops, who'd been on a different beat, quote unquote, to Ben's farm, is someone Maisie actually went to school with back before Ben's family could no longer afford to send her to school. So they have a kind of shared history of some sort, and therefore have some sort of affection in the reunion. Yeah. Could be another opportunity for some exposition. Night falls, though, and a vehicle approaching the farm gets everyone tense, as it's not one of the coppers. Bear in mind, not many people have motorised vehicles at the moment. The coppers are yelling for it to stop, and though it slows, it doesn't stop. The few armed policemen that are there open up on it and riddle it with bullets. And when the dust settles and they approach the car, we can see it's just a young boy who's tied up and gagged, riddled with bullets. We get the clear and bloody impression he was not a willing participant in this exercise. Shit. And just as we discover this, there's a scream and the head of one of the coppers rolls into shot, having been tossed from out of shot. Shit. Those outside the house are immediately set upon by a gang of horrifically violent thugs. Think predominantly blades and blunt instruments, but all with nothing but killing intent. And
are they silent or are they like hooting and hollering? What's the sort of...
Good shout.
Because I feel...
I almost don't know.
Because that gives a big difference in characterization. It's the difference between, say, Hills of Eyes and like the Purge or like the Strangers, that kind of thing. Because you get two very different characters of goons.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. Let's maybe go hooting and hollering.
Hoot and holler away.
I feel like that's where I was more at.
I think in the darkness it'd be quite scary.
So the likable cop, the one that knew Maisie, Clive. Don't know if you remember, we had a conversation about how I'd never met anyone called Clive.
We did.
You lied to seem like a big man.
I did show off. Couldn't sustain it.
You wanted to make everyone think you'd met a Clive, but anyway, so we had that whole conversation.
Look back on those early days with a bit of embarrassment.
So we had the whole conversation, and then when I was looking for a name for the friendly cop, I thought, fucking Clive. Yeah. So anyway, Clive bolts back in the house, and amongst a lot of the bloodshed and craziness, he gets Maisie and Ben running across the field towards a remaining police car over at the far side of the field. Yeah. Final shots in the scene are probably of the thugs finishing off coppers at the house. Some grim implications when we see a policeman being strung up in front of the farmhouse and the thugs appear to start. I start dissecting him alive, but it's a little strong. Might be a touch strong. But doing, you know...
Maybe, I mean, it sounds grim, lynching, setting him on fire, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Paint a picture.
I mean, because if it's in the darkness, that sort of thing always...
That's true.
You can imply more than you can show.
And I think that's probably the way to go with this one.
I think at this point as well.
Horror, yeah. So anyway, you want to imply that something fucking nasty is happening.
Yeah, some sounds, some movements, that kind of thing.
So we're basically, what I'm trying to do there is setting up a sort of new reality that the previous structures, no matter how unpalatable, are now either entirely under threat or gone altogether.
Yeah.
And what we're left with is completely out of control gangs doing fucking awful things, basically. So the final act opens with dawn breaking and the three occupants in the car now on the road, on a B road or even I was thinking actually more of a mud track or a farm track or something, because infrastructure's fucked, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, this is years after any kind of centralized infrastructure, so not only are roads not maintained, but, you know, just like the area Ben lived in, there's all these small sort of regional states all throughout England or Britain even, all run by different kind of police forces or whoever's got the most power and influence. It's dawn breaking, they're in the car. We get a scene in the car with Clive, who's driving, and Maisie just caked in dry blood and just staring silently ahead. This is like the sober morning after the horrific night. They wake up Ben and start discussing next moves. We learn that the only way, or at least their best bet to get out of Britain is probably Scotland. And to try and barter passage from there. So there's some exposition around this and why Scotland, and Clive and Maisie overriding Ben in his suggestion that Clive actually just get them in with another police force so that they can basically, you know, he's like, look, you're a copper, you got a car, you got a gun, you know, this is more than most people have got. You were one of the force in our area, like, just get us in with another one.
But he's very much thinking small. He's like,
let's
just move out of this immediate threat, where Maisie and Clive are like, let's get the fuck out of this entire situation.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But anyway, Clive shuts it down regardless because he's like, it doesn't work like that, basically. So, like, you know, from another police force's point of view, he's just a drain on, the three of them are just a drain on any resources that they do have.
They haven't got a farm anymore.
So they're probably just bullet in the head stuff. So Clive's like, it doesn't fucking work like that. We're going to make for North Berwick, which is just over the border.
I like that
in
this
Scotland.
point, side jumping, I like this point that Ben's come across as quite a naive man. Because he's obviously, he's been a master of his own small part of the world, and it's making him quite a naive sort of person, in a sense. But like, by assuming he knows, he thinks it's easy.
Oh, sorry. Bashing everything. I don't know. I don't know if it's naivety. I think I didn't see him quite as so naive as more optimistic.
Okay,
short-sightedly optimistic.
Yeah, fair.
Because the reality that they've been living in, forget about what's happening to them now. What's been happening to them for the last 10 years is they've been in, as Maisie's already pointed out, a relatively privileged position.
Yeah.
They, you know, and thus life for them has been not easy, but comparative to other to people who don't have that.
Yeah, his daughter's been safe, and that's
right. You know, she had a bit of education till they couldn't afford money anymore. You know, they had food, they owned a farm, they were looked after by the quote unquote policeman, even though it was, you know, kind of a gangster deal. But you know, but he's going, well, look at what society is, and look at what we had. Yeah, you know, we were doing all right. So that's limited in its thinking. Yeah. It's short-sighted, I think.
Maybe he doesn't realise how grim things actually are, even for them, because it could be worse.
Well, that's true.
It's just the whole fog getting bored of life thing. It's just been happening by slow degrees.
Yeah.
And he's not quite aware of it. Whereas Macy, a bit younger, a bit more sort of optimistic, a bit more idealistic, is like, it could be a lot better than this.
Yeah, so he looks at people disappearing, and he's like, oh, God, well, it could have been me, and it's not. So actually, I'm doing all right. Rather than thinking, fuck, next time it could be me.
Exactly.
Right? It's that.
Whereas Macy's sort of gone like, this is a very tentative position that we're in, and this has proven that point.
Yeah. So Clive explains that it doesn't work like that, and they're going to make for North Berwick, which is where he, as far as he's heard, you know, over the grapevine of the last few years, was the last place people were really actually being able to get out of Britain. Yeah. Because, and I haven't gone into it, I sort of imagined that Scotland isn't necessarily under the same structure, but but just by proxy is under that pressure as well. You know, has sort of disintegrated into the same. Yes, because it almost couldn't not.
No, God.
Without a physical border. And even then, it's unlikely that it wouldn't be affected.
Yeah. Okay.
So, nonetheless, this is the last place that he's heard that he thinks people can get out. So they're going to head for North Berwick. We get a few grueling days of travel and survival. Mm-hmm. We get conflict as they try and negotiate the crumbling police states. We see evidence of those fleeing the cities, and we get some horrific glimpses of those killing them. Clive's resolve starts to slip, and we begin to appreciate that he, like Ben, was actually more comfortable with the way things were, in spite of the damage to society of old. And not only is he mourning its loss, but both he and Ben are struggling to comprehend what actually comes next. So, they've basically got rugs pulled out from underneath them here, from a mental perspective, and they just don't really know what the fuck to do. Whereas Maisie's always kind of been like, we need to, it's better elsewhere. Yeah. Basically, we should go. So she's a little bit more on it. So it's really Maisie that more and more becomes the voice of the audience, with her incredulity at the way things have become and the recollection of the broken dreams that were promised with the uprising. Passing the bigger cities is also rife with danger, as most of the roads are crumbling anyway, and those that aren't are controlled by, regardless where they are or aren't, are controlled by local sort of police warlords. And we get a taste of this as they pass Carlisle or Newcastle. I couldn't decide on which. I couldn't decide on where they were and which sort of side of Britain they were driving up. But, whatever you want.
Take your pick.
Hey, tweet us at Le Mans Pod. Just say...
If someone's out there going, Carlisle, fuck off, mate. It doesn't hold up at all.
I thought taking them by Newcastle might get a few opportunities to get a few voices in. Don't know how they speak in Carlisle.
No one does, mate.
We could make it up.
Yeah.
I'm from Carlisle. Probably rather they went by Newcastle at this point. Because I think the Carlisle accent that we've just heard doesn't lend itself to the kind of film I want this to be.
No, it's definitely a lot more whimsical.
Oh, why don't you stop at Carlisle? Come and have a cup of tea. So yeah. We're talking around Newcastle, or Newcastle.
Of course.
On the, so that would be on the east coast.
Yep.
So driving up the east coast, past Newcastle. So, we get a scene around there where we see them escape. I mean, there's scenes around them running into a gang and shit going on, and then they're escaping from one gang to run into a smaller one of only a few thugs.
Yep.
Currently engaged in chasing down and murdering a group of people. After an argument and some frenetic scenes between the three in the car, Clive tries to run over the men doing the chasing and the murdering as a sort of compromise on, like, do we help, don't we help, and people are like, don't help, and people are like, help, and, you get that. It's three, right? So they're never going to get...
So you'd be like, help, don't help, maybe help.
Abstain.
Yeah.
That'd be fucking hilarious. Ben just consistently abstains from every vote that they have, just to really fuck everybody up.
I couldn't possibly say.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right, we'd say.
Clarence?
I say, Clarence? So... Clive tries to run them over. The scene escalates with the two remaining thugs turning on the protagonists, and Clive loses a few fingers in a nasty scene with one of them. This is basically like, they run a guy over, they fucking bail out of the car, shit's going on, it's all crazy. So there's a whole brawl going on. I shouldn't go into too much detail because I'm not going to,
we've all seen brawls.
Yeah. So shots ring out in the melee. Basically, Maisie goes for one, and one of the people they were chasing goes for the other, and there's a whole thing going on. And a shot rings out and takes out the final the thug that was doing the chasing. And we see what turns out to be a heavily armed ambulance. Bull bars, metal screening, the works. It's also painted black, and there are 4 heavily armed, what look like SWAT people with it. It's a doctor. Due to their profession, they travel armed.
Nice.
I mean, it's like,
cool.
In this society, at this stage, or up until now, I think is the important point, people still went to work, hence them on the train at the beginning. They just looked after themselves. So the train would have been run by a private enterprise that's looking after itself. That's why it's got armed guards on the stations. It's what, but they're not ploughing money back into the infrastructure, so the train's all ratty. And so people arm themselves, because they're like, well...
And if a guy could afford to get... if the person can afford an education to become a doctor, they can also afford their own protection.
Well, yeah, I mean, so if you, because obviously doctors are super important. So if you can give a service that people can't replicate elsewhere for free, then it's still a market economy, basically.
It could almost become a kind of like a co-op to have somebody become a doctor. They all pay to help that person.
No, mate, that runs completely contrary to the whole concept of how this country is.
Just, everybody's kind and they all help.
No, that's not, this
whoa. Start again.
This is a horror movie, this isn't Paw Patrol.
Paw Patrol's not a co-op.
Dude, they cover all of the emergency services between them.
In one town.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Cooperatively from one town.
I mean, they've got one episode where there's somebody going into kind of an anaphylactic shock at the border. They leave them. Just watch them die. It's grim.
Point is, people aren't helping each other in any kind of cooperative way in general in this society, and that's kind of the seed of the issue, which is why it's all gone wrong.
Of course.
But so Dr. Zellaby here is going to Scotland too, as it turns out. So the main climax of the movie is a scene at North Berwick. Potentially you could have a scene of them trying to get across the border. Mm-hmm. I actually think probably from a pacing point of view it would work better, because they're trying to get to the coast, it would work better if the scene at the coast is the climax.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I imagine borrowing a lot from War of the Worlds here, both kind of book and troubled Spielberg movie version. For this final scene, as North Berwick has seemingly become the last de facto place that people have begun to flee, knowing they have a chance of getting out. Yeah. It's nighttime, so you've got the kind of, it's not an industrial port. It's a small town, a small seaside town with a pier. So you will have, big lights, but not like industrial lighting.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine a big wide shot where actually you've got a kind of moonlit sea, but then on the land, all you can see is these spots of light that will just be teeming with people, like not a gap, not a space anywhere, just like a shifting mass of people. It might even in such a way that it takes your eye a minute to even recognize what you're looking at. Every small pool of light teeming with people, huge crowds of increasingly ill-tempered and increasingly violent people, scenes of essentially good people turning bad in order to try and save themselves. Yeah. Other people resigning themselves to futility. I mean, you can picture it. We've seen movies like that before. Yeah. I also think you could go really dark and have a gunboat gunning people down from the sea, causing just scenes of chaos, because it's dark with bits of light and just fucking tons of people and kind of.
But it also doesn't force people to run away because they're desperate. So they will.
Yeah. So my thinking here was that by some horrific hook or crook, Maisie and maybe Clive do actually manage to get out. I'm thinking at the point where they basically get the fuck out of North Berwick again. They're probably heading down the coast on foot. Come across a small group with a boat being cut down by another group of heavies. And by boat, I mean like a kayak or some shit, like small, insignificant to the point that it's only now that people are fighting to the death over it, kind of thing. So Ben runs straight into the heavies in a nasty and ultimately fatal attempt to buy Maisie and Clive enough time to get in the boat. So cue a frightful scene with Maisie and Clive in the boat just offshore, and the gang. It's quite grim. This maybe Ben isn't quite dead, and they're trying to tempt them back to the shore. You can imagine
that's grim.
Could be fucking grim, So I don't know, it might be a bit dark, right? But
eyes being done with knives, that kind of stuff.
Hey, wow. I was leaving it up for you to imagine, but you could do all kinds of manky shit.
Fingers hitting the sand.
So the gang either doing stuff to Ben to tempt them back. Brackets, yuck, I wrote. Or streaming into the sea after them in a tense moment of will they, won't they get away.
I think
which I also thought would be quite
I think you
exciting.
could have both. I think you could just do it all.
Could do it all, I guess.
Kitchen sink the shit.
So anyway, in the final scenes, I envisage Maisie and Charles are rescued by a coalition forces boat once they hit international waters, which is what that was 30 miles offshore. But not before they've had a tense final 20 miles or so with all kinds of crafts trying to take them out once they've been spotted and assumed to be defectors. Only the sort of authoritarian police type crafts have any kind of guns. Everyone else has got blades or homemade modified weaponry of some sort, making it all the more kind of brutal. Between this and the beach idea with Ben's death, I think it has the potential to be quite a tense finish, and I don't see either of them getting out of it without some serious injury. if you want to be seriously grim about it, depending on what you've already done, you could have a bullet from one of the, UK gunships take Clive out right as he's climbing into the kind of rescue boat in the real final shot kind of thing.
Take half his face off kind of thing.
Like boom. Yeah, exactly.
Missed him up.
Yeah, I mean, so you could do that. I've even put I don't know if it's a bit much. Technically, you could do it to both of them. You could take the whole lot out.
You know what? I do have a slight.
I know we had this conversation.
Yeah, unless it's really earned, I think a sort of nihilistic ending has to really fit. Else, it just feels like, why have I watched this again? I mean, it works in stuff like, say, like the original Dawn of the Dead, for example. That works with a bit of nihilism. Same with the original Night of the Dead, obviously. But I think in a lot of modern films, The Thing, obviously.
Makes it out.
Those sort of films really work. But there are other films where it's just felt like, well, that's a waste of everyone's time, isn't it? Home invasion films like that. If the home invasion films ends with them all dying, it's like, well, why have I watched this movie now? It's just some knobheads being knobheads. So
they get out. Maisie and Clive get out. A couple other things. I borrowed a lot because I can't help it, because that's just, I like stuff and I want to do
You're
stuff.
You're a real cultural
stuff.
magpie.
Yeah, and
fluffing your neck.
I was thinking, obviously it's a near, almost don't dare say dystopian, because we're so close to the potential for this anyway.
Yeah.
Without wanting to get too kind of current affairsy about it. But the idea, well, first of all, I was thinking of authors like, obviously, H.G. Wells, because of War of the Worlds. I mean, that's amazing because it's so quintessentially British in its locations and stuff.
Yeah.
And similarly, John Wyndham and John Buchan. Yeah. Wyndham, pretty much everything, and John Buchan's like 39 steps.
I also say as well that the first sort of act and the first act and some of the second act is almost a bit like a Western. For quite a while. There's a Western strong, there's like posses, there's like a small holding, and then the film quite nicely shifts into like a whole other kind of thing. So,
I guess I mean, obviously I don't think I got anywhere near any of it.
Yes.
But it's nice to have places to kind of visualize to help. And I wondered, I think you might be able to do a similar film with a similar story, but with a lot less gore or violence.
Yeah, I think you could really make it whatever you wanted.
Yeah. I'm going balls to the wall here.
Of course
you're the one that does the smart ones.
Well,
I do the ones where, there's 10-foot water demons.
Set me up for some failure there, mate.
So, the real thinking, I don't know if it's controversial or not, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like, basically what I wanted to do was to try and figure out what would, and I don't think I've achieved this, but this again was the starting kernel of thought, but what would a sort of true libertarian society look like?
Yes, yeah.
So one without a centralized state, or a minimized state, possibly minimized regional states. And what would that do? What would that sense of individualism bring? So that was kind of why I mentioned how, the internet's completely unregulated. You're free to do what you want. It's just that it so happens that fucking nobody can afford to access it apart from the super rich.
It is the kind of, there is a bit of a fashion these days for, as something mentioned earlier, for tying stuff like compassion and empathy towards weakness or virtual signaling or being fashionable or whatever, to try and undermine the idea of compassion. And I think in this society, one that you've created there is basically like, libertarianism without any empathy. Yeah. Which does sometimes seem to be what people want to happen. Empathy seems to be a bit of an ugly word in some quarters.
I mean, I suppose it's, because I don't want to take too many swipes at libertarianism as a sort of political.
I do.
Well, because look, it has, just like any sort of political ideology, it has all kinds of areas that, different ways of implementing it, I guess.
Yes.
So it was like, what would rampant individualism look like after 10 years or 15 years. The reason that I kind of tried to make it a semi-functioning society was because people would try and make it a functioning society.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but then other people would completely take advantage of all the new
that's
loopholes.
the whole point of libertarianism, is as far as I'm aware, the original doctrine is essentially, to paraphrase, if everybody's equally selfish, everybody's fine. If everybody maintains their own personal interest at the expense of everybody else, it all balances itself out to being functional.
Any ideas for names?
The obvious one is just no deal. Just leave it as that.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I
Do you
mean,
know what? I wrote down stupid names as well, and that wasn't one of them.
That was the only one I've been thinking of the whole time.
I got WTO rules.
That's better. That's really good.
I was really pleased with that.
Yeah, that's really...
But I didn't want to, because genuinely I wasn't thinking about this as a leave remain.
I do think
it wasn't that. Yeah. It was about conceptual libertarianism and individualism. But I thought WTO rules. I just fucking loved it, and I thought I've got to put that in.
That's very good.
What else did I got? I got the Haymaker, but then I was like, I dropped that because I was like, can't call it the Haymaker because I was thinking Haymaker farmer, you know, like. But it's a and we can't do two the's. So the Haymaker accountability.
That's isn't that a John Grisham novel?
Yeah, exactly. I thought no, that's shit.
The Haymaker's daughter.
Ooh.
Because my main thing when you said Haymaker was that he's a relatively passive character.
Yeah.
But she isn't.
No.
So that changing.
You're right though. No, she's ultimately the main character.
Yeah.
I think.
So I'm going to say no deal or Haymaker's daughter.
I mean, you didn't even go with WTO rules, man.
It's WTO rules.
Better than
WTO rules is better.
Escape from Great Britain.
That's good.
And I think that might oversell it. Yeah, I think that's it. All right, no, I like the Haymaker's daughter. We'll do that.
Yeah, that's quite good. I'm quite happy with that.
Nice. Well, that's my wee story. I mean, look, I feel like we've underdone the voices because I
you've got a few good ones in there.
I need to set it somewhere regional, like Liverpool or something, or I'll just set them all in Scotland and just keep hammering on that door. Please get in touch. Yep. Tweet us at LaMamPod, acronym of our name plus pod on Twitter, or email us at letsmakeahorrormovie@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram. There is a bad video of me whistling on there.
It's a lovely video. That.
Is it?
Yeah, it's good.
I don't know.
You can see my car take its last ride.
That's true, yeah.
You can see Danny Filth looking fucking great.
We're looking for recommendations for horror movies. Yeah. So do tweet us with some new or old, you know, probably the obvious ones we've seen. Yeah. But if you've got to
think off the beaten track a little bit.
Off the beaten track. Give us a shout at LaMamPod. Yeah. Even you can theme it to near dystopian futures. Yeah. Yeah. And not Children of Men.
No, it's a great film, but we've seen it.
It's good, but we've seen it.
Yeah, fuck off with that. I'm not watching it again. That film I loved.
It's got a Clive in it.
It's got a Clive. I mean, unbelievable.
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, on that bombshell.
Spooky. Yeah. Spooky.
I'm shaking.
Anyway.
Bye.
Alright. Okay, folks, let's make a horror movie.